Does the United States have a moral obligation to intervene in foreign countries to spread democracy?
You know, having been a person that spent 22 years in the United States military, I don't think we have a moral obligation to spread democracy. I think the moral obligation is to make sure that people are not oppressed, that they do not live under tyranny, and that we ensure that liberty and freedom is available to others. You cannot make people democratic because that is a political system that may not agree with their civilizational backgrounds or even their nature. But I think that every soul yearns to be free.
What should the role of the U.S. be in the fight against ISIS and the Assad regime?
I am not a big person on regime change, but I am a big person on making sure that the most savage and barbaric entity that we have seen probably since Nazi Germany has to be eradicated. We have a global movement that stands against liberty and freedom. We have a global movement that, for whatever reason, our own Obama administration won't admit that you have a genocide of Christians that are going on. So I think that, once again, that we do have a role and responsibility to make sure that groups and organizations like that do not exist, and we should be able to build coalitions to fight against them.
What should the U.S.'s response be to the Syrian refugees?
I think when it comes to the Syrian refugees, first and foremost, I am not one that supports military-age single Muslim males being brought into the United States of America. I am a very compassionate person when it comes to the elderly or it comes to small children. And I think that after what we saw with Tashfeen Malik in San Bernardino and some of the other instances in Europe, we have to be careful about single military-age Muslim females as well. We have to protect our people first and foremost. And the most important thing is they should be staying there fighting for their own countries.
What did serving in Iraq and Kuwait teach you about the mindset of the people that live there and of the ideology of Islam?
Iraq and Afghanistan are two very different places. Iraq, the fertile valley between the Tigris and the Euphrates, incredibly highly educated individuals that yearn to be free. In Afghanistan, you're dealing with a very basic tribal mentality. I think when you start to study and understand, the nature of Islam, the first 10 to 12 years, sure, it was a peaceful religion. But after Muhammad decided to leave Mecca and go to Medina in what is called the Hijrah, approximately 622 AD, you see Islam moving away from being a religion to more of a theocratic, political, totalitarian ideology. And you see this global conquest that they have been after for quite some time. So I think that we have to understand and study that history. We have to remember that in 1790, when Thomas Jefferson and John Adams sat down with the Dey of Algiers, and they asked him why were they attacking our merchant shipping and enslaving Americans, he said very simply, we're commanded to do so by our prophet and by our book. So if we are good students of history, we will come to understand what Islam is. The word means submission. Doesn't mean that we dislike Muslims, but we have to understand what this ideology is.
What are your thoughts on the 2016 Republican presidential primary?
There is an incredible angst that is out there. There is a yearning for leadership. There is a yearning for strength in this country once again. And I believe that the voice of the grassroots, everyday common man and woman in America is seeking to be heard.
What is your opinion of the Trump phenomenon, and how do you think it will affect the Republican Party?
Well, with all the full disclosure, I've represented Donald Trump down in South Florida because his Mar-a-Lago property and some of his properties in West Palm Beach are part of the congressional district. I have sat down and been in his office up in Trump Towers in New York City. So I have had good, conversations with him. Once again, when you think about the video and the pictures of U.S. sailors on their knees at gunpoint being held by the Iranians, and then to have this current administration thank the Iranians for taking good care of our sailors, this is all about the American people looking for someone that they believe will fight back. Policy discussions, sure, but Joe and Jane Sixpack, the everyday American, they're not so much worried about quantitative easing or, the philosophy of governance when you study Locke or Montesquieu. They just want to feel that they are protected. They just want to feel that someone is going to look out for them.
Okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.